Today, I'm going to tell you something very significant. Ron Paul, since the end of the 1970s or beginning of the 1980s, he was warning Congress not to print more money because he knew about the business cycle. And the business cycle happens when the government, via the Federal Reserve, keeps the interest very low, so people, companies, they make investments based on those low interests, and that's what is called malinvestments, because those interests are controlled by the Federal Reserve, and when they want to or they need to, they raise those interests, and those investments that look good at a low interest turn into bad investments. So why am I telling you this? Because this has happened since a long time, the business cycle, the printing of money. And today, well, actually, this past weekend, we learned that a huge bank, I believe the 16th in the nation, SVB Bank, went under because they made wrong decisions. But it's not really just because of that. It's because the banking model is extremely fragile. It is fraudulent, and they are allowed to do it because they make a ton of money. And the government makes it illegal, but that's not right, that they can multiply money out of thin air. So they don't have to keep reserves. They only need to keep about 10% reserves on the deposits that they receive. So imagine if many people want to come at the same time to ask for their money, there won't be that money at the bank because they don't keep it there. They go ahead and loan it again to make interest, to possibly assess charges and penalties on people that get in trouble making those payments. But that's how the banking system works. It is very unfortunate, but it has happened for a long, long time. So today, I was listening to Dan Bongino, very good presenter. He has a podcast that has several million people listening to him. Well, maybe I went a little too far, but if you have 1 million people listening to you, or a couple of million, that's a lot of people. And I also heard from the War Room with Steve Bannon about the same rhetoric, that Biden screwed it up. Yes, Biden screwed it up tremendously. Most presidents, but he's not the only one. Every president for the last 20 or 30 years is at fault at that, is at fault of printing too much money. So what can we do? Well, nothing will happen if that system is not reformed. If the banks can keeping a laughable reserve on their deposits. If they receive $100 in deposit and they only have to keep 10 or less, I mean, that's a recipe for trouble. And why it didn't happen before? Why it only happened in 2008, and we are at a very high risk that it will happen now? Because the United States was a very strong country, very industrialized. was a creditor country. But little by little, things were changing, and from creditor, it went to debtor. And today, we are the biggest debtor nation in the world. So that's the reason we saw the catastrophe of 2008. And that's the reason we can see a bigger catastrophe at this time, or in the nearby time. So why am I telling you this? Because we need to understand this. Prior to 2008, I knew that was going to happen because I was already reading about that type of material. When I became a promoter of the infinite banking concept, one of the things that I did back in 2005 was to start reading about money and government. And that really opened my mind, because I learned that the governments are not our friends. Unfortunately, they go there to get a cushy job, very powerful, where they can have their own systems, their own rules, while the population have different systems and different rules. And I don't know if maybe in the 1800s or maybe close to the 1900s, people went to government to serve the people. But it's not that way anymore. Nowhere in the world. All the governments, all the people that aspire to government, with exceptions that maybe could be counted in your hand, will in one hand, it won't go there to reap the system, to enrich themselves and gain power. So it is unfortunate, but that's the type of system that we're living in. So I'm telling you this because we need to be aware. We need to somehow try to protect ourselves by looking at a way to not to let the banks repos. So what can we do? Well, I've been a heavy proponent of gold and silver. So if you can, yeah, invest in gold and silver, because traditionally, over history, it has been valued as money. But probably easier would be to try to keep a lot of cash at home. And I am not full at that, because unfortunately, when you keep a lot of gold and silver or cash at home, then you think that somebody could break in and clean you out. So that's kind of maybe fear, but it's something that it can happen. It's not something that is not out of our minds, that it could never happen. So yeah, I guess you could keep the gold and silver and try to hide it, or your cash, and try to hide it very good. Try to make a hole in your backyard, or devise or put it in a particular jar at home, or some weird place where you could put it away. So that would be something. But another thing that can be done is we need to start being more productive, and we need to try to create passive income, because if we have passive income, then we don't need to be working to get that money to get those um, that to get those rewards, which is the passive income, and and it helps because let's say that we have a job, and if the economy gets really screwed up, then the employer that was giving us the job, he might have to close, so that will put us out of a job. Or maybe they will start cutting hours. If you were full-time, you will end up working part-time, and if you were part-time, you will probably be fired. So we need to take control of our economy, and we can take control of our economy by starting a business. But I don't have any money to start a business. Yes, starting a business requires money, and requires a different mindset. It requires a mindset of I'm responsible for my future, not a mindset that, hey, I deserve this and the government should take care of me. Because a government big enough to give you everything you want is big enough to take everything you got. So let's look at a mindset of personal responsibility, and let's try to start a business. And then again, it requires money and a special mindset. But there's a way that you can start a business without a need of much money. It still requires your mindset that it is your business and you're responsible for it and you have to work it. And it is the network marketing business, because the network marketing business allows you to be in business for very little money, from the low hundreds to the low thousand. I mean, from like $100, $300 to maybe $1,000, $1,500. But considering what a brick and mortar business will cost you, those are peanuts, because a brick and mortar business will cost you several thousands, because just your rent, your lease will cost you more than that. It could cost you $1,500, $2,500 a month, just your rent. So look at the utilities, and look at the permits, and look at all the material, the machines that you have to buy to stay in business. So definitely the network marketing business is an option. And I know the network marketing business has a really bad reputation. Why? Because it was sold wrong. It was sold to people that they didn't need to have personal responsibility, which is, it's your business, so you have to work it. Not because it was told to you that you were going to be able to make a lot of money quick on this business, and that there would be a team that will help you. That doesn't mean that they were going to build your business. So you have to build your business. You have to work on your business. But that's an option if you are employed. Because if you are employed, things could go really bad if you get laid out. But if you already have a side gig, if you already have a home-based business on the side, then you might be able to face the situation easier, because you might have some money coming in. And if you work this business hard, you might be able to replace the income that your employment can give you. So think about that. Personal responsibility. And I also have told you about the I also have told you about the infinite banking. And the reason I have promoted the infinite banking since 2006, when I was able to promote it, when I got a license for insurance, because the infinite banking uses a dividend paid, a whole life insurance contract. I promoted it because it gives you control. It gives you control of your money. It helps you secede from the banking industry that we are stuck in. So you are able to grow capital and keep it safe in the insurance industry platform, because it's a lot stable. It's a lot safer than the banking industry, because the banking industry is extremely speculative, and they don't care to take on risks, because the population is their insurance, being the population with their taxes or the population with their deposits in those banks. Because after the recession of 2008, there was a change in regulations where it was set as a law or as a rule that that the too big to fail banks were not going to be bailed out anymore. And bail out means with tax money. But then from 2008 on, they were going to be bail in. And bail in is bail in from within. Bail in from, with the money of the bank depositors. So either way, the population gets hurt, either on their taxes or on their deposits. So you see the graph that is in my background. Well, this graph is very updated. It's very present. I think it was it was published maybe a couple of days ago. I actually took it from a presentation from the War Room, but it's very significant. And let me try to explain it to you. One thing that I see that is missing is that in this graph, they don't show 2008, because 2008 had to be very similar to what we see now on this here, this 2000 end of 2022. No, the whole 2022 year and what is going of 2023. That's what this graph means. But 2008 had to be very similar. But anyway, if we see that in 2000, after 2008 up to 2010, things were very shaky. But I guess after the losses of too many people, some people started to recover and started to produce. So from 2008 to 2010, the things were bad, but in 2010, then they started to present good. There was you see the graph, it shows in the positive side, and it continued in the positive side till 2016, 17, 18 to 2018. And do you remember who was the president that started the presidents in 2017, in January of 2017? It was Donald Trump. So Donald Trump received this kind of economy, and in 2017 and 2018, he probably made some bad decisions on printing more money that we should have printed. So the economy went sour, went bad. But then, because of other measures that he took, then the economy started to recover better than the rest of the years. You can see it in the graph. So then came 221. And you remember what happened in January 221? Joe Biden took on the presidency. So he started to do bad policies. So the growth that you can see up to 2021, it started to be lost, that growth, because of the policies of the administration that started in 2021. Then came 2022, and you can see the consequences. Awful policies that have created tremendous damage. The loss of the energy independence, the lockdowns of the lockdown because of the scandemic virus, and also the terrible decisions, the terrible economic decisions on how to force the companies to become woke, and all that, and also terrible military decisions that created the war in Crimea, that we are subsidizing so heavily with money that we should not be printing. So you can see there, that's in I'm not going to say in black and white, because it's got some color. It actually has got white and green color, and red on the arrow that is kind of dramatizing the problem. But I don't think the arrow is necessary, but you can see in the proportion of the bad situation on the investments in the economic sector that we are in trouble. And you can see this graphic belongs to the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. And let me tell you something funny about the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. It is a joke. It is a joke. Why it is a joke? Because they tell the people, they tell the population, don't worry about putting your money in the banking industry, because the banking industry is safe. We insure it. We, the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, insure your deposits in the banking industry. So why do I say it is a joke? Let's look at this. In 2008, there were more than 10 trillion of deposits in the banking industry. Do you know how much was the capital in the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation? It was about $80 billion. So can you see that? $80 billion to insure $10 trillion. So how can you insure $10 trillion with $80 billion? It's a joke. So in 2008, where the regulators and the government say that things were going to change, that they were going to fix it so there would be no more two big banks to fail, they did nothing. So the things are worse now. Why are they worse? Because the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation now has about $130 billion. So yeah, they went up on capitalization. That's laudable. That's great. They put 50 billion more into the capitalization. So now they can insure all those deposits. $130 billion in the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. You know how many deposits are today, March 13, 15 of 2023? $17 trillion. So how far can $130 billion go to insure $17 trillion? So whenever you hear somebody telling you that don't worry about to invest in our bank or in our what is that called? In our whatever the deposit they call. I mean, a deposit where they are going to pay you a miserable interest of maybe 1.5% at the most if you keep their money with them for 5 years, and they say your money here is safe, don't worry about it because it's federal, it's FDIC insured, so it's covered by the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. Laugh at them because they are telling you a joke, because $130 billion cannot even scratch the surface to insure $17 trillion. So I hope you get something out of this. So try to take your money out of banks, but don't go and take it all at a time, because then you will cause a bank run, and then the economy will all be, it will totally collapse. So try to move your money out of the bank, but don't go all of you at a time. Just try to talk to your neighbors and tell them, hey, are you taking money out of your bank this week? No. Okay, good, because I'm going to take money out of the bank this week. So we have to be careful on that, because a bank run happens too easy. A few people going to the bank to demand their money, it can create a bank run, and then the bank collapses, and then the economy collapses because that's the type of economy that we have. But if you want to do a better solution, learn about the infinite banking. I have put a few videos about the infinite banking concept. Contact me at jorgeeherrera.com and I teach you about all the benefits of the infinite banking concept so you can secede from this banking system. And if you want to make some extra money, then start your side gig and look. If you don't have much money, look at the network marketing industry. Look for a good company. I could recommend a few because I have been involved in network marketing for several years, so I have had my experiences, so I can recommend a few. So contact me at jorgeeherrera.com and we can talk about that. A side gig that you could start or how you could implement and see if you could qualify to implement the infinite banking concept for your family or for your small business. I hope I was able to open your eyes because you need to investigate this. And I haven't even talked about CBDC. That's another horrendous danger that is looming in our future, because the banking industry will probably throw with a tremendous advertisement that that's the solution to the problems that we're getting into. A central bank digital currency. They'll probably throw that with tremendous advertising that that's the solution that we need. And that's just what would be the biggest thing that could give them control, a central bank digital coin. See you next time. Thank you for checking this video.